I know more than most, but I don't know what's going to happen now in the House of Commons. It is literally unreadable. And the lines are all now crossing. As I said, and Claude agreed with me, the people now most likely to vote for a no-deal Brexit are the people who least want us to leave the European Union. Work that one out. And the Labour Party, having said that it would vote down anything that doesn't meet the 6 tests, may well end up voting in significant numbers at least for Theresa May's deal. 100 or more Conservative MPs may very well vote against Theresa May's deal. The SNP may or may not have indicated to Theresa May in their talks this week what their attitude to whatever deal she has in mind is going to be. So the people who are, well, to all intents and purposes, virulently anti-conservative in the SNP group might end up sitting on their hands at the very least, and thus Theresa May's deal might well go through. The problem is, her deal isn't actually leaving the European Union at all. It's Brino. It's Brexit in name only. Because if we're staying in the customs union and we're staying in the single market for an indefinite period of time, well, the only thing that's changed is that Claude Moraes and the other British MEPs are out of a job. We are still in the EU. A. Crepello says Galloway is a preening self-publicist with disruptive tendencies and toxic views. And Mac says Galloway is having an ego massaging service with the world's most boring man. He couldn't bring himself to call UKIP racist on the air there, but he was dying to. Hashtag snowflakes. And Simon, he's a regular listener and a regular texter, at great expense actually, and every single week. George, regarding alternative jobs for prominent peeps, George Galloway loves himself, commands praise, sees and knows everything, revels in devotion, up his own backside. George Galloway, otherwise known as God. Have a good niche show, he says, with an X. Actually, Simon, there's only one God, and it ain't me, but you are definitely my most assiduous listener. Phil says on the Twitter, on the issue of jobs for retired politicians, Phil says, I'm surprised David Cameron didn't become chairman of Aston Villa once he left office. Or was it West Ham? Very good. You'll recall that David couldn't remember the team that he'd supported all his life. And Peter says, after listening to Claude, as suggested 2 years ago, it's time to move the Queen to Balmoral, declare Manchester the new UK capital, and then lay siege to London. That's from Peter in Glasgow. And Tappy Lappy says, seriously, George, why would Facebook employ Nick Clegg? I don't get it. Has he got any talents? And Andrew says, if Jeremy Hunt leaves his position as Foreign Secretary, he could always get a job as a market trader in the East End of London. Andrew, he couldn't. Trust me, he wouldn't sell a single fish. Linda says, evening George, well, another one, Nick Clegg revolves off to America. Blair goes to greatly enrich himself. Now Clegg, what is this deal with America? Rewards for doing what? That's Linda in Manchester. And Ryan says, here's one for you. Tony Blair could become a Teflon tape salesman, as no matter how much blood has been shed and how many Saudi millions he's received, nothing ever seems to stick to Tony. Well, not yet. Scouse Alarm, my old pal, says Campbell is a disaster for the Remainers. I've no doubt that him trying to stop Brexit has turned many Remainers into Leavers. Leavers should be delighted when he appears on TV or radio talking about Brexit. Well, I'm always delighted. Tony X, the protest board, what a clever man he is. He says, I understand and fully feel the outrage over the attention Jamal Khashoggi gets compared to the tens of thousands of Yemeni people. But if he's the straw which breaks the House of Saud's camel's back, count me in. Now, Roger Grafe is an OBE. He's a filmmaker of distinction, but not a lot of people know this. He's also a criminologist by profession. So he has kindly agreed to talk with me about the situation of violent crime in London, but London is a microcosm in this, as in so many other things, of much of the rest of the country. Roger, thanks for joining us.
Sure, George.
Now, let me just run through the headlines. 157 homicides in London from April 2017 to March 2018, a 44% increase in 12 months, and 50